Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Passion Project. This is a weekly podcast where we bring in a guest every week to talk about a particular topic that they're very passionate about. It can be literally anything. Males, females, fishes, or even oil paintings of Natalie Portman. I'm one of your hosts, Guru, and my other host is Derek over there.
Hello.
And this week our guest is Maya. Maya.
Hi.
So Maya, what have you come here to talk to us about?
I'm here to talk about the Gender Equality Club. Woo!
Nice. And are you the president or whatever of that club?
I am the president.
Okay, when did you start it?
Well, it was started last year by Taomi Kenny, but it was under the name Alpha. And guess what that stood for?
First letter of the Greek alphabet?
Yes.
Oh.
Also, actual legitimate, because we need both of those, Feminist Alliance. But I didn't like that, so I changed it. So now I'm continuing the club, and it's Gender Equality Club.
And how many members do you have in this club?
Well, I don't... We're actually pretty bad about keeping count, but we have, I'd say, like, 10 or 12 students who are on and off coming in.
Nice. And when do you guys meet?
We're deciding on an official day later this week. Since I was directing the play, I actually wasn't in charge for the past month or so, so I'm about to jump back in.
When before did you used to meet?
Thursdays, every other.
That conflicts with Spectrum's meetings. What if somebody wants to go to both?
I'll make sure that it's not every other Thursday.
Good.
Is it Thursday right after school or like a later time?
It was right after school, but we haven't decided anything for this year.
Okay. And so what exactly do you guys do like every meeting?
Well, it depends. Last year, we try to always have a goal. Last year, our goal was to amend the dress code because it's no lie, it was fairly sexist. And now, I doubt anyone's actually read it, but if you look at the dress code, you're allowed to wear tank tops and you're allowed to expose minimal midriff. And it's been reworded so it's a lot more, or a lot less sexist, which is great. This year, however, our goal is to start incorporating consent into our sex ed program instead of just RAD, because that's a little ridiculous.
I've had to take RAD this year, but it was like RAD for men, which is just...
It's just fighting.
Yeah, it's just self-defense. It's
yeah.
nothing.
But I think that's a really good thing to advocate for, because it's something that, like, in sex ed, I don't know why, we spend a really long time on, like...
No, our sex ed was that we talked about STDs for, like,
no, but, like,
a
not
week.
even just STDs, like, if you touch anyone
Oh,
below
yeah.
the belly button, you will die.
Yeah,
Like, sorry,
and then
bye.
we were taught that contraception isn't that effective, which just isn't true. And then we talked about healthy relationships, as in trust and friendship,
No, yeah, it was
which
like,
was ridiculous
so
and
interesting.
ignorant. So what my club is trying to do this year, and what we've already started doing, is we want to try to push as far away from RAD as humanly possible. Because if you don't know what RAD is, to the viewers, listeners, it's basically teaching females and males self-defense against potential sexual aggressors. And it was originally just females that were going to be taught, but there's a lot of complaints last year, and now the males got to experience it this year, like Guru did.
Yeah, but like when they taught it to me, it was just like... It's just like if you ever got into a fight with a random person, this is how you would defend yourself. It's nothing to do with like sort of the sexual aggressive side like the females go through. And also it's only applicable for only freshmen and sophomores are obligated to take the class. So if you're a junior or a senior, as in like an older person, and you might like be, more in contact with like some of these issues later on in your life, you're probably not gonna take that class if you don't take gym.
Well, ideally, it's part of the mandatory sexual curriculum, but you missed the cutoff, so from now on, it's going to be a thing. Yeah, but my club thinks that's disgusting, especially on the female side, because it's basically saying accept rape culture and learn how to defend yourself. And we've never talked in school about what consent is. We didn't watch a consent video. We didn't talk about how to have safe sex outside of, hey, condoms don't usually work, even though that's false. So yeah, my club is working very hard to definitely get consent taught, and preferably we're trying to get it taught not by the gym teachers, but actually bring someone in who's, I know that the gym teachers are technically qualified, but like an expert who knows what they're talking about. So, yeah.
I definitely agree with you about the whole, that I remember when RAD first started, I think it was our sophomore year, maybe, or was it just our junior year? I thought it was interesting how instead of, like, teaching people, hey, you should not do anything with someone like without their consent. We're literally just saying, well, it's gonna happen, so you should know how to defend yourself. And I think it's interesting how, even though it's called RAD, doesn't RAD stand for rape?
Rape, aggression, or it might be aggressor, defense. But it's basically saying, accept rape culture, deal with it.
Yeah.
And also the fact that it was originally just supposed to be for females is pretty disgusting. Because, I mean, yes, most sexual harassment cases are towards females, but it still happens, and it's pretty sexist to men to just say, hey, you guys are the ones who are going to be sexually harassing these females, so you go have a study hall while these chicks learn how to beat you up.
And they were very big on, like, you can't see what we're teaching the girls.
Yeah.
Like, you can't know, like, how a woman's going to defend herself against you. Like, when you inevitably, you know, try to assault her. Like, okay. And I've heard from people who've taken RAD, like, it's not actually good. Like, it doesn't do a good job of teaching you how to defend yourself. Like, I know people who've taken things like Kung Fu and other forms of self-defense, and they say that the things they teach you are, like, either impractical or just wrong. Like, they teach you the wrong way to throw a punch and stuff like that.
It's very strange. So, yeah, what we've been doing so far, once again, since I kind of literally just hopped back onto this trail, what we're planning on doing is, I've already contacted a few colleges and universities, but I'm gathering statistics as to the association between their consent programs within their orientation and the number of sexual harassment cases on campus. So I've already talked to the principal, and he's on board, but we have to convince administration because, unfortunately, RAD and sex ed is a bigger thing than just within our school. So that's what we are working on right now. There's a lot of other things, too. We're also trying to get gender identity and sexual orientation taught in sex ed because that's kind of important.
That'd be a lot better than just that one day where the Spectrum kids have their assemblies.
Yeah,
and it's only
freshman year, like 1 hour where most of the kids don't.
There should be a day in sex ed devoted to sexual identity and orientation. I think that's really basic. Yeah, so so far the principal isn't 100% on board with that because of potential parental complaints. But he said he's definitely going to try and bring in a speaker. So we're hoping that works out. But yeah, in general, we're working just to, I don't even know if it's necessarily work on gender equality, more just people equality. I mean, it is kind of ridiculous how they're handling
to see
sex
how
ed.
Those things work, because anytime someone's like, oh, equality for, like, this thing, it just always spreads out and happens to encompass, like, so many other groups.
I mean, last year we were definitely working on a feminist issue. I mean, over-sexualizing our bodies. It's gross, and we fixed it. And now the big issue is how sex ed is being handled in our school, and it's sexist to all genders because you're saying, hey guys, you're going to rape these girls. It's saying, hey girls, you're going to put up with it. And then we're also ignoring a whole spectrum of genders by not teaching anything about it when that should definitely be part of the curriculum.
Do you think it'd be a good idea to maybe introduce it in, like, say, like, middle school, like 8th grade or something like that?
Yes, we were actually talking about how it should be done in the middle school, but being a high school club, we're not too sure how to go about that yet, but we're definitely planning on trying to talk about that. But it's also, middle schoolers are a lot less mature, and their ability to actually comprehend and take this stuff seriously is a lot less than those of a high school audience, even though, once again, we're talking sophomores, so it still might not go over that well, but I feel like it would be way more likely for a group of 7th grade boys to joke around about people liking different genders and identifying as different genders than it would be for a group of sophomores.
I mean, even the freshmen took it because I was in the freshman gym class when I took the RAD class. And, like, every time we were, like, taught a move, they didn't care about it. They didn't understand, like, the sort of, like, point behind the class in general. And, like, when they brought out, like, those big, those Centurion guys, everyone was just, like, beating them up and, like, knocking them down for, like, the fun of it. Like, they didn't care about, like, what's the point. Which is why I think it'd be better for, like, taught, like, across, like, from freshman to senior class. But
The first step we're trying to take in the whole sexual identity, sexual orientation thing is we are actually was hoping to talk to Spectrum about this. We are hoping to reach out to different gay-straight alliances in the surrounding colleges and have students from the college come in and speak to the gym classes, because people will identify more with someone who actually can relate to these issues than Mr. C, and also someone who's their own age, because it's a lot less formal and it can be a lot more real.
I will say, sorry to backtrack, I think that you talking about working on the middle school would be a great idea, because I know this was like a few years back, maybe 2 or 3, but I heard of there was a student in the middle school who was trying to get the dress code in the middle school changed, and she was like going to give a presentation to the administration. And I remember like there was always that one lunch in the springtime when they would say, at the end of lunch, they would say, okay, boys, go to class. And they would like hold the girls behind and be like, all right, just so you remember, like the 2-finger rule or whatever.
They'd literally tell us, it's getting hot, we don't want to see your bra straps. Okay.
And it's so weird because it's not even to high schoolers, which is bad enough. It's to middle schoolers.
Yeah, and
so it's
it enforces such a disgusting message. Yeah. Like, hey, your bodies are sexual, no matter what you're wearing, and the only way to make it not sexual is to definitely cover up. And if you don't, boys will be distracted, and it's up to you to make sure they're not distracted. Yeah. So, but that was last year's battle, and for the most part, we've won. But yeah, I would love to work in the middle school and help there, but unfortunately, you have to keep your goals sizable and reachable, and the middle school, it would take a lot more hoops to jump through. So that's definitely a long-term goal, but maybe for whoever takes over for me.
And then what do you think is sort of like from a student perspective, though? I'm sorry, not from a student body perspective. How do you think the students themselves would react if, like, a lot of this sort of sexual identity classes and like gender equality classes were sort of oriented in school?
Well, there's going to be a mixed response no matter what you do. Like everything, there's going to be some people who take it seriously and benefit from it, and some people who decide it's a joke and don't care. But it's worth it to even get a fourth of the student body actually understanding what's going on, and when no means no, and why this person is attracted to this person. I mean, there's just a lot of people who are uninformed still, and that's been made very obvious to people recently. So I think it's very important to have open discussion about this. More than anything, even if we don't succeed our goals, we want to start an open discussion, because I definitely feel like in Winchester, so many of these subjects, especially those involving sex and sex ed and orientation and identity, is so taboo, and it's ridiculous because it's life, it's natural, and we should be able to talk about it if we have questions.
And it gets harder and harder the older you are. Like, going from, like, I'm 15 and I've never heard of this, to, like, I'm 25 and I've never heard of this, to, like, I'm 50 years old and I've never heard of this.
And I'm not dumb. I know that we're in Massachusetts and it's super liberal and we are super well informed, but I think that we should make a difference where we can. And it is no lie that a good portion of our school is still definitely unclear on a lot of these things, and the clarification could be very beneficial.
What is your response to people who, what do they call themselves, I think, like meninists? Because I think we all know the person in our grade, but like, have you ever like had to deal with like those type of people and like with like this club or just like in general?
Well, I mean, coming out there in public at our school as the head of the Gender Equality Club, I've definitely gotten some mixed responses, and I may not necessarily support the meninist cause 100%. I don't think that they're an oppressed mass, and I also am not one of those people who think that females have it the worst in the world. I understand there's a lot more out there, but, I mean, make change where you can. Anyways, meninists, I definitely do think there are some issues and some stereotypes regarding males that we'd be a lot better off without. That's actually part of my whole sex ed thing, is that it's sexist towards males. But yeah, meninists as a group, no.
I think it's interesting because it's not even a response to feminism, it's a response to misandry, like, people are forgetting that the definition of feminism is equality for, like,
yes,
all
that
genders,
is something.
Not, like, we're making women better than men, so they
can,
like...
I actually, one of my really good friends, when I told him I was becoming the president of this club, was mocking me, and he was unclear with why I was doing this, and I explained to him, no, I'm not talking about burning bras and running around topless. I'm just saying that we're no better than you, and we want to be treated as equals. And in the long run, that's going to make life better for both of us, because there's inequality in court between men and women. Women were more likely to get off easy, if we're not talking about a rape case, of course. And, I mean, there's a lot of inequality in between both genders, which is why I've renamed it Gender Equality Club. And all genders, because there are not just two. That is why I'm trying to get that into our sex ed program. But, I mean, I think that every group out there has some sort of issue that they're trying to solve. And although Meninists I'm not a big fan of, probably because of the way that they publicize themselves, and also because of the whole term feminazi that they coined. I mean, yes, there's extremists in every group, but feminism is really just about wanting to be seen as a person before a gender. And unfortunately, in our modern society, even though we've definitely made so much progress, we still are seen as a female. Like, even at work yesterday, I work at a coffee shop, and I was taking heavy things out of the freezer, and some guy came over and said, let me get that for you. And I was totally capable of it, and he wasn't just being nice, he was busy. He saw a girl lifting something, and he came over to help out. And I said thank you, I let him, but why did he think I wasn't capable? I'm tiny, I'm 5 feet tall, like, yeah, but I was lifting stuff, I was fine, and it definitely was me being a teenage female that made him feel the need to come over and help out, which is kind of weird, because then my coworker who's male was doing the same thing, and he offered no help.
I think it's also interesting because a lot of the, like you were saying, there are negative stereotypes about males, but it is because of the way that women are viewed, in a sense. Like, the reason feminine males are seen as, like, weaker is because femininity is seen as weaker, because women historically, like,
are seen as weaker. So, hey, meninists, if you actually decide to become a feminist, your problems will be solved too. And not as in females are superior. But yeah, a lot of the negative things surrounding males and what they're supposed to be is because they don't want to be seen as female stereotypes. I mean, stereotypes in general are messed up. Everyone has them. But, yeah.
And then what do you think would be, like, because I think what's so interesting about, like, the whole stereotype thing is, like, we grow up as, like, children with gender stereotypes. Like, oh, boys do these certain activities. Like, boys play with action figures or do sports, and, like, girls color, like, play with dolls and stuff. And it's, like, we're sort of, like, we grow up with these stereotypes. And, like, what would you say, like, how would you want to educate, like, parents or something, or like parents right now about how they're raising their kids and how they deal with gender and stuff?
I'd say let your kids choose. My parents let me choose. When I got out of diapers, I only wanted to wear Raptor Raid boys boxers, and they let me. All my friends were guys. We played with action figures in my backyard, and maybe that's why I'm a feminist now, because I hate not being seen as a little tomboy. But, I mean, kids should be able to do whatever they want. They're kids, right? Girls don't have to wear pink. I rejected pink for years. And boys don't have to like blue. I played Polly Pockets with my best friend growing up named Carl. Like, I mean, it's whatever you want. They're a kid. Let them have fun, right? And there's no reason to be afraid of them growing up and being more feminine, more masculine than you'd like, because we just don't live in a world where females need to be super feminine and males need to be super masculine anymore.
I also think it's interesting that a lot of times people will be like, oh, well, like, women and men are inherently different, like, look at these brain scans, and, like, while I think, yes, there is a difference between identifying as male versus female, I think a lot of it does come from the fact that since you are an infant, like, think about when people see a brand new infant who's, like, a month old, they're like, oh, is it a boy or a girl? And if they say it's a girl, they're like, oh, you're so cute, what a precious little princess, oh, you're gonna grow up and you're gonna be such, like, a lovely woman, versus when it's a guy, they're like, oh, you're a big, tough man, like, blah, 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 and, like, since you are a very little baby, you are treated so differently, and I think that leads to a lot of differences where it's like, oh, like, girls can't do sports because they aren't grown up taught to, like, do those things and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely undeniable biological differences between the genders, and some things where maybe guys might have a tiny bit of an edge because of the way that they're made. But, I mean, you're right. It's all, gender in general, beyond biology, is really just a social idea. So there's no reason why we have to fit it. I mean, it made sense back in the 1920s when females were wearing their little dresses and guys were trying to get through the Great Depression. But, you know, we're not in that age anymore. Everybody has the ability to be educated and do whatever they want. So it's kind of outdated.
Yeah, it's also such a cultural thing, too. At least from, like, my parents. They expect, like, my mom is always just like, because I don't, like, the only sport I play is tennis, and I kind of stopped doing that like 2 years ago. And then she like makes fun of me because like I don't do a sport, or like I don't like ride my bike all the time. And she's like, oh, you have to be like this big tough guy, like you're not like the man of the house or something. And it's such a cultural thing too, of just like, at least America is making a lot of these changes, but like you could, a lot of, at least in India still, and maybe some other countries across the world, like these stereotypes are still so a part of the culture.
Yeah, globally, it's terribly oppressive for both, all groups of people. The idea of gender and what you have to be if you are a gender, it's definitely strange. But, I mean, like I said, I am not in denial that we are in Massachusetts and we are super liberal and we have it pretty damn good. But there is still a lot more to be done, and I don't think that we can go on and fix the world if we can't fix ourselves first.
Is there any figure, like, let's say it's a historical figure, even, like, right now, someone, maybe a close friend or someone's famous, like, who's sort of, like, fostered this sort of passion of just, like, wanting to bring equality at least to the school and stuff?
So this is actually pretty interesting. My whole kind of thing about gender equality started summer going into 9th grade when I was enrolled at a summer camp at the Berklee College of Music. And all the females, most of the females, were singers, and I was one of the only female guitar players. There were 2 of us. And one of them didn't speak any English, so the guys didn't really talk to her. But every time I went up and did something or said I liked some type of music, they're like, oh, that's weird, you're a girl, why do you like that? And it was really weird. And then they kept on saying, oh, she's a girl, she's definitely a singer. And I do sing, but I was there for guitar, and I hated being looked at differently than all my guy friends because I was a girl, and it was weird. And then I came to the high school, and I started doing the plays, and that's where I met Taomi, the former president. And she's so passionate about social justice. She really does amazing things for the world, and whatever she's doing at Hamilton right now, I'm sure is crazy and great. But we used to have all these discussions about all these weird things that we think were wrong. And I told her about the Berklee thing. She told me about the confinement she feels because of her heritage. And there was just a lot of really great discussion about how much is wrong with this world. And then when she started this club last year, I got so involved, and seeing my actions actually make a difference in the school made a difference. And also, definitely, seeing this whole election process made it obvious that if you feel something, you have to put it out there. And if you're passionate about something, hey there, Passion Project, you have to get involved and do it, because if you don't do it, who will?
I definitely think in modern society, more and more people have this really big idea that, like, I'm one person, therefore nothing I do ever will make a difference.
Yeah.
And while maybe you might be like, oh, it's the world, like, yeah, one person won't make a difference, if everybody thinks that they won't make a difference, and that could be the difference between, like, 50 people coming together and, like, making a change to the dress code versus, like, everybody just being like, oh, well, I can't do anything.
Well, maybe like one person can't change the dress code, but one person could like do something like what Maya's doing, of like, you could rally a group, you can incite the change, and then a community will come, and then you guys can do something together.
And even if we don't get the change, we want to get the conversation going.
Yeah. Because
if you don't try and do anything about it, it's just going to sit in the shadows.
Exactly. It's like, oh, well, we can't change it. And, you know, there's a lot of things in today's society that people are like, well, like, it won't change in my lifetime. Yeah, but you can make it so that it will change
you can set
in,
it up
3 lifetimes as opposed to like another 100 years or whatever. Well,
and even not that long term. Like right now, when you said you guys should definitely work on the middle school, I can't do that because I'm a senior and we have 3 semesters left. So, not 3 semesters, wow, 3 quarters left. So the chances of me being able to get through the high school and middle school administration in that short period of time, make a change in time for the end of the school year is really slim. But I'll definitely talk to the people who are younger than me who are part of this group.
Exactly.
Because
you can get the ball
rolling. You can
rolling.
probably get it done in like 2, even like less than 2 years maybe. Like
you'd think that, but the issue is it's high school administration and then it's the administration over the high school administration. You also like it's very complicated. Getting the dress code fixed was a little challenging, but
how long did it take to get the dress code?
All year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so like at the end of the year they're like, okay, we'll change it, or like?
Well, I wasn't able to be extremely involved. Well, I was extremely involved, but I wasn't able to be present for most of the administrative meetings. I came to a few, but I had a fairly busy year last year. Anyhow, we started out with this idea, and then we surveyed groups of peers, and we talked about the times that they were told they were violating the dress code, and it was definitely because of their body and not because of the clothing that they were wearing. Like this one time, I put down an entry, and it was my friend and I went to a Ziggy Marley concert, and we were wearing tank tops that clearly had cannabis leaves on the bottom because it's a Ziggy Marley concert, and we got a band t-shirt, but they happened to be tank tops. And I am a little bigger on the top than she is, and Mr. Chapman walked by, and he told me to cover up on top. Didn't notate the giant drug reference down below, didn't call my friend out who's wearing the exact same shirt, but told me I had to cover up. Like, that's ridiculous.
And I think it's a lot of people are like, oh, well, like, you don't know, like, that's what they're talking about or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, like, with stories like yours, you can definitely see that was the only thing that was different. That was what they were
I should have been dress coded, but not for showing anything up top, but for having a drug reference. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, we started with that. And then we came up with a bunch of different ideas as to how we feel the dress code should be worded. We had a fairly extremist idea. We didn't get what we wanted, but after months of meetings and showing videos and coming up with slideshows, we kind of found a happy-ish medium, and we're okay with it.
Do you mind telling us what the original idea was?
So the original idea is the only rule is that it was basically from your armpits to, what was it exactly? It was like your armpits to, there was some length on your leg that wasn't ridiculously long, needs to be covered in non-sheer material. That's all. And that was the second one. The first one was that you can wear whatever you want as long as it doesn't violate as long as it doesn't make anyone feel unsafe or it's unsanitary. So, no, you can't be naked in school, and you can't wear that shirt with all the weird knives and guns on it, but if you want to wear a crop top, have fun. But, I mean, I do see the issue with that from an administrative person's point of view, because then there's going to be some girls and some guys and some whatever who definitely go to the nth degree with that and have way too much fun. And in the end, we are in a school and a place to learn, and it's more of a respect thing. I actually originally told Taomi that what we should be doing is, instead of, if you're going to institute a dress code, it should be more of a professionalism thing than a sexual thing. Because we're not allowed to wear tank tops, but we can wear pajamas. Well, we can't technically wear pajamas to school, but we can wear sweatpants and sweatshirts to school. And if you're all about creating an optimal learning environment, then how is that optimal?
It's like the difference with, like, private schools when everybody has to wear a uniform. Like, that's a legitimate thing if somebody's like you're not conforming to uniform. But if like you said, if it's really about a professional environment,
yeah, then you wouldn't be letting us wear this. So I wanted it to just be I said that the proposal should be violation of health or safety, or it should be professionalism. Because it's very weird to state again and again, and they told us again and again, that this is just so we can have a great learning environment. It's out of respect. You're at school. It's not a weekend. Which was just weird to me. Because, yeah, I don't know. It was very strange and very false. Because, like I just said, you would not wear sweatpants and a sweatshirt to work, and they said it was as if you're going to work.
And
yeah, they're very...
What backlash are you expecting to... I mean, maybe obvious for people listening, but still, like, what are you expecting to receive from administration over the sexual orientation, gender equality classes you want to institute?
They're going to talk about budget, and I'm going to tell them, well, this is important. Yeah, they're going to talk about budget. They're going to talk about, once we got told unofficially that it may violate with some people's religious beliefs. And that made me cringe a lot. I said it should just be optional then. I mean, it should be like the same as when you enroll in sex ed. Your parents can do a little waiver that says, hey, my kid's not going to participate. And that's fine. If a parent is not comfortable, I mean, it's 2016, please be comfortable. But if a parent is not comfortable, that's their thing and that's their kid and there's nothing we can do about it.
Well, again, it could just be a cultural thing.
Yeah,
so
that's fine.
Honestly, one thing that, like, makes me angry sometimes is when they pull the, like, oh, well, it violates, like it doesn't agree with some people's religions, just because there are cases where they're, like, when it's about something, like, relating to sex or gender or, like, anything not straight, they pull that, but you know that if there was a situation where, like, it was another aspect of that religion or a different religion, they'd be like, well, sorry, it's school, it's like the real world, you have to learn how to deal with it.
As a Jew, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, backlash. There's definitely going to be that again. Budgets, hoops to jump through, the truth is, people don't care enough. And there's a lot of hoops to jump through to get this to happen and to make this happen. And someone like me, I think it's important enough for it to put in that work to get it done, but a lot of people don't. And that's unfortunate because it's important. I mean, it's no lie that we're living in times where things are changing a lot. I mean, I was watching CNN after the election and someone compared the times that we're in right now to pre-industrial revolution. Like, there's radical changes happening. All of this classic American, all these classical, all of these American core values of, the white picket fence and the guy and the girl and the two dogs. I mean, we're abandoning them. And I personally like it. Some people don't, but whether you agree with it or not, things are going to progress, things are going to change, and it's unsettling, but you need to be informed and know how to deal with it.
Yeah, and speaking... Oh, you're going to ask a question?
No, go ahead.
Oh, well, speaking of, like, CNN and stuff, like, what are your thoughts on... Again, as you said, we're such a modern age and social media dominates, and there are some people who, like, they just get their news from, like, Facebook or Twitter or something like that. And then, so, what are your thoughts on how, say, like, the media, whether it be, like, the news or YouTube or movies or something like that, like, how that influenced these gender stereotypes, and if they're doing a better job now than they did, like, however long ago?
They're doing a better job. They still need to do a better job. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have seen a progression, a very subtle progression, but still a progression towards being more inclusive in the media about everything. I mean, unfortunately, with Facebook, anyone can put anything out there, and there's a lot of pros and cons with that. But all of this media, it definitely connects people to other people, and you get to see other lifestyles and other people's trains of thoughts, and it's interesting. I mean, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I wasn't able to research on my laptop that's sitting in my bag right now what's going on in the world and feel passionate about it. But yes, the media's definitely, they're doing their part, but it's very hard. Shout out to the Finding Dory couple. That was gay. That was adorable, subtle, perfect. Didn't you see that?
I saw
in Finding Dory, in the scene where they're in the park, there's just It was two girls holding hands.
Just
They're
a
a couple.
lesbian couple.
And they just walked through the frame. They didn't make
God.
a big deal out of it. They just did it. But I also, my father's in advertising, and I understand that it's hard. Because he does advertising for Bose, and one of their biggest buyers is, one of their biggest population of people who buy their product is in Dubai. And they wanted to release an ad that had a gay couple in it, but bringing that over to Dubai and the Middle East was a big risk for their company, and they didn't end up running it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's hard. I think it's important enough that you should still do it, but I understand that it's a slow progression, but it's happening, and that's what matters. It's starting.
And I definitely can see why companies are so hesitant about it, both because, in general, people, like, don't want to mix, like, political, like, even though, like, this has to be considered a political view with, like, business and stuff. Remember when, was it Macy's, it had, like, a Mother's Day ad where there was a lesbian couple, or was it a Father's Day ad where it was a gay couple?
I don't know.
But, like, a ton of people were like, I'm not going to shop here anymore, blah, 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 all this stuff. And, like, I'm sure that a lot of those people actually just continue to shop there anyway, but they do run the risk of, like, how big is the backlash going to be? Is it going to be worth it?
And some companies are able to do it, and some just aren't. Yeah. And hopefully that'll change, and people will be okay with it. But I think as a company, it's important to state your values and stand up for what you think is right. But I'm a high schooler. Yeah. I don't understand how it all works. But I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that.
I also think it's nice, even if it's something like as subtle as something in Finding Dory, or also another movie in the summer like Star Trek Beyond. One of the characters, he happened to be a gay man. Like when they landed at like some space station or whatever, you saw him like walking up to his husband.
Yes, that was great.
A quick kiss, and then they cut to the Kirk or whatever.
I think that some people are doing it so tastefully.
Yeah.
Or that IKEA commercial.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so great.
And like the thing is, like, even if something as subtle as that, or like last year you had the movie Carol, which is like it was like just the whole plot of the movie basically. But like it'd be nice if we got to a point where it just kind of seemed like just normal for people. Because I saw an interview with Keegan-Michael Key, who of like the Key and Peele, and like his show, that Key and Peele is a lot more about like race and stuff.
Yeah.
But then like what he said in the interview that I found so interesting is like what he wants like 100 years from now is for his show to be like irrelevant. That like some kid's gonna find it in like a time capsule.
Not get the joke.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be great.
He doesn't get how like, oh wait, this deals with like race, but like why is this relevant? And be something of that where the same thing with like gender identity of just like it just seems normal.
Yeah.
And I think it plays into the whole thing where nowadays, like with a lot of forms of media, if something has something gay in it, then it is labeled as a gay thing, as opposed to just being something that happens to have like, two characters who happen to be gay in it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a person for labels anyways. My top choice school, like I said to you right before this started, just ignores gender. That's great. Why do you need to classify yourself to determine where you sleep and where you pee? I don't know. It's definitely weird. And the fact that there's a whole there's any movie with any gay interaction that's not just walking through a corner is categorized as gay. Or there's a whole category for strong female leads where
on Netflix.
Strong leads. It's usually strong leads. It's just, you're great. Right? Why is it you're great and you're a girl?
And then it leads into the whole like movie covers when anytime it's like a female superhero or like a strong female lead, like you can even see this on magazines when it's a strong male lead, like he can just be doing like whatever with a pose that makes sense and like armor, but a girl is always wearing like some form of skin tight suit and striking a pose.
That. It's so bad. Yeah, I mean, but once again, then you're talking about Marvel or DC advertising to a mass of people, and it's more complicated than just, we'll put her in a baggy superhero suit. I mean, you're gonna lose a lot of your audience when you do that.
Which is a shame.
It is a shame, but it's what people are accustomed to, but then again, the only way that they're not gonna become accustomed to it is if someone goes out there and changes it. But being the person to change it takes a lot of guts.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean...
Oh, yeah.
They should still do it.
I'm saying they should, but I'm just saying that it's also not, with the whole media and how they portray relationships and genders, it's definitely a lot harder than just you snap your fingers and there you go. I mean, I only know this because I saw the Adidas Valentine's Day ad where it was 2 girls. And I asked my dad, why don't you do this? And he said, because I'm going to lose half of my buyers. So, yeah, no. There's a lot to it. And I wish he went out and did it. I would have done it. But he didn't. And as much as it pains me to say, I kind of see why.
And what other issues do you want Gender Equality Club to sort of tackle in the future?
In the future, there's a lot of things.
I mean, like, do you guys have stuff planned for like next year, or like the year after that?
Yeah, I mean, every year we get together in the beginning and we talk about goals. So I have long-term goals, definitely, but I mean, it's going to depend on the members that year, because maybe we have more guys, or maybe we have more people that identify as neither of the basic genders, and their issues are going to differ from mine and what my current group of people want to deal with. So we have nothing set in concrete, because this really is a club just for people to make a change if they feel that something is wrong. And I don't want to tie anyone down to a change that they're not passionate about. Personally, a big goal of mine is to have gender-neutral bathrooms, because it's so...
We do that. I know.
It's the okay. Nurse's office.
No. There's 2 near the gym, in the gym hallway.
There are now?
There's 2, but I remember part of...
Slow down. We have gender-neutral bathrooms in the school.
Yes.
I was told we didn't.
No, because I remember freshman year, as part of Spectrum, we were like, well, we're building a new school, so why don't we just put in, like, single-stall bathrooms? And we were, like, near the gym so people can change. And they're like... So they like kept postponing it, and they're like, oh, sorry, we have all the plans. But if you go in the gym hallway, there's 2 bathrooms that are single stall with doors that lock, and anyone can open them.
Why didn't they tell us that?
I don't know. They literally told us.
Why aren't they advertising
I don't know.
that?
They told us there aren't gender neutral bathrooms, and then there are. So,
yeah, because we literally talked to administration at the beginning of this year and said this is something we want to do, and they said we can't.
I know. I love how the response is, we can't. Like,
why don't you say we did already? Like, seriously.
Or even with gender-neutral bathrooms, they're like, but, like, a boy and a girl student are gonna, like, we don't know what they're gonna do. And you're like, please. Even for people who, like, a mom coming in who's like, I need to change my baby or something. Like, there's so many, so many things that, like...
That's just so dumb that they didn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
I know. I did not know
it
was
shocked.
a thing until I saw it, and I was like, is that a staff bathroom? And I was like, I'm going to try and open it, and it opened, and I was like, holy crap.
Wow.
Why? Oh, that's...
I can show you at school tomorrow.
I'm so aggravated right now. I mean, good for them for having gender-neutral bathrooms.
But it's like, maybe they don't even know that they have... Like,
I think they know it's in their school that they run.
But what if they don't? Because I have talked to so many people this year, and so many of them don't even know that, like...
That's so
they
weird.
exist. Like you. Who literally asked for them.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, they don't exist.
No, I was told, no, we can't have them because we need to make gender-neutral changing rooms. But you made them. Oh, my God. Okay, more long-term goals. That aside.
Well, that's another example of people just being uninformed.
Yeah, what?
Exactly. Like, if the administration...
This is why we need to inform people. Think about all the people who could have utilized and benefited from the 2 apparently gender-neutral bathrooms.
Wait, where are they located again?
You know the hallway, it's on the first floor. When you go towards the gym, literally along the hallway, there's like a regular boys' bathroom, and then there's a single stall, and then there's a single stall, and then a regular female bathroom.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty obvious.
But you would not know they were there unless you went there, because obviously if you ask the administration, they'd be like, sorry. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm confused. Maybe you're just imagining it. It's like the room of requirement. Yeah, more long-term goals, though. Part 2.
Well, okay, right there.
Hey,
goals.
We've succeeded a goal without doing anything. We're also trying to, since like I said, we do know that we're in liberal Massachusetts, and it's a little bubble of inclusiveness and greatness. So we are trying to do certain fundraisers through the school to start helping global groups that benefit women, transgender people, just more gender issues. One of them, I think it's called Girl Up. We're planning on selling bracelets eventually. It's really cool. It's women in Africa. Don't fact check me on that. Like I said, I just retook over the club. I haven't reviewed this stuff. I should have. But it's definitely a third world country. Wow, I'm awful. I know that it was a country. I was like, oh, this is great. They need this. But yeah. And these females they make bracelets in their free time, and then they send them to this organization. And I did do research on the organization a while ago. They don't spend that much money on themselves. The percentages are good. And then they send these bracelets to you for free, and you sell them, and then you send the money back to them. And it is put really directly into getting these girls educated. If they make a bracelet, they can get educated. And I think that's fabulous.
And I love that, too, because there's so many, like, I hate that this is true, but there's so many charities who give, like, 3% of their profits to their cause, or they do it so inefficiently that, like, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, no, but I did the research. They definitely do it the right way. And I really like that the females that were benefiting are the ones who made the things that we're selling. Like, that's very cool. They must be so motivated to make these bracelets. It's like, I can go to college. I'm awful. Okay, that was a joke, listeners. Yeah.
In terms of other long-term goals, what is that?
Long-term goals, stop being a terrible human being. Also, I think the biggest goal of our club is just kind of similar to Spectrum, is just keep conversation going and start conversation. We plan on, instead of posting flyers like, come to our club, we're just going to have, this girl, Aria, suggested that we have several big banners just in the school with questions about gender identity. Like, what is considered masculine? Why is it considered masculine? Just things to start the conversation, because, like I've stated, it's a weirdly taboo subject, and I think the community as a whole could benefit a lot from talking about these issues.
Would you ever want to go to, like, a school committee meeting or something and just pitch it to the whole, like, board there?
We did it last year.
Oh.
We'll do it again. Yeah, we did that with the dress code.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was something funny. But I definitely think it's good that there's, like, your main goal is really just to get people talking about it, instead of, there's so many things in the school where they're like, we're gonna talk about drugs or whatever, or, like, have an assembly about this, and then everybody just forgets about it within the week, and then it never comes up again. And then they're like, why is this a problem? And then they bring it up again, and everybody forgets. And all
how about instead of having the 4th drug assembly I've seen this year, let's have an assembly about consent and identity and things that are also very relevant.
I know, and they're definitely doing something wrong if you need to have we've had so many drug assemblies in the past.
We've had drug assemblies and drug drinking and bullying assemblies since, like, middle school, maybe even elementary school.
And the thing is, like, some things, so obviously someone is not doing something right if we've all had bad speakers, and, like, there's a lot of things that we could go into.
I mean, it's not that all the speakers are awful or that those messages aren't important. It's just that there's a lot more out there that's also important. I mean, I actually think, hey there, guru, that talking about stress levels and showing your video to the student body at an assembly would be super beneficial, because we don't just deal with drugs and bullying at the high school. We deal with a lot of things and a lot of important issues that should be addressed, especially consent and sexual harassment, because it's ignorant to assume that all high schoolers aren't starting to engage in that stuff. It is.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think the problem with a lot of the things they have is that they don't address the reality of the situation. Yeah. Like, they act like...
I mean, you can warn teenagers as much as you want that there's STDs out there and you can get pregnant, but people are going to be sexually active. And the scary thing is, we're not teaching our students how to do it safely.
Exactly. All the time that we spend talking about abstinence is really the only way you can prevent it, is time that we could spend on students who it does not matter how many times you say that.
But it's not even just being taught, like, this is how you put a condom on a banana. I mean, I was talking to my friend recently who wanted to get on birth control for medical reasons, but her parents wouldn't let her for religious reasons, and I told her, you know you can go to Planned Parenthood and get birth control without parental consent. And she's never been told that. That's pretty important for high schoolers to know.
And it plays into society's ideas about women that birth control is only seen as she just wants to be able to do whatever she wants without consequences. This can help people who have medical conditions.
It's for cramps. It's not for having fun. Yeah. It's so frustrating. I feel like so many of our health, quote, education is all based on ignorance. Like, for instance, drugs and alcohol. Maybe we should have learned the rhyme that liquor before beer in the clear, beer than liquor, never sicker, because I think a lot of our student body who has had very bad, potentially dangerous drinking experiences just didn't know how to do it and didn't know their limits. I mean, in driver's ed, we were actually shown a slideshow that said, if this is your weight, this is how many shots it would take for you to be intoxicated. This is how many shots it take for you to be tipsy. This is how many shots will end you up in the hospital. And it was probably one of the more important things the students in that room had seen, because, once again, it's ignorant to just assume that we aren't going to be trying these things.
Exactly.
And
I think a lot of the times what they do, at least with the drinking stuff, is just like, the stories they tell is just like kids made the wrong choice and then it ended disastrously.
Yeah,
but then it's like, if a kid is gonna do that, like, then at least tell them, like, if you are gonna do it, like, how do you do it in a safe way?
Don't do it, but it's important to know what you're going to do because it's going to happen. Yeah, but that's so off topic.
Yeah, but this applies to, like, sex ed too. There's the idea of they build up, like, this, whatever it is a big bad monster, and then the moment a kid hears about or, like, learns about one experience where it's not like that, they're like, oh, they've been lying to me. Like, they talk about getting drunk as, like, this big bad thing or whatever. And like,
then one of their friends has a good time, and they're like, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, it's dumb. And also, it's weird that we have this taboo in our sex ed about sex, because it's sex ed. Guess what we should be learning about? Sex! It's natural, people! We have a class devoted to it where we barely talk about it. We just talk about all the bad things that could happen if you have sex. We didn't even do the condom banana thing I just referenced. Nobody showed us how to put on a condom. And I'm not saying that our whole student body will be putting on condoms. I'm just saying that
it's like
that's literally an essential movie scene.
Yeah, the reality of the situation. Yes, there's going to be some students who don't drink and don't, like, experiment with sex at all, but, like, the majority of the school population will.
And it's ignorant to say otherwise.
Yeah.
It's unsafe. I mean, a lot of people just don't know what counts as giving consent and what doesn't, which is scary.
Like the fact that people
especially moving on into college, and then you're an adult at that point, and you just don't know what to do.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people think that if there just isn't a no, stop, that they can just go ahead and do whatever the hell they want.
Like the lack of no versus the presence of yes. Like, basically, consent is yes, not, oh, well, they didn't try to stop me or something.
Yeah, it's weird. And it's weird that we're not teaching it, because
in sex ed.
Yeah, in California, it is law that every sex ed class learns about consent. Why not here? Please. Yeah, that is really my main goal, and as you can tell, I'm pretty fired up about it. And I think we're going in the right direction with it. Hopefully I can get it done before the time I leave. I kind of wish that I could have started earlier. But, you know.
Yeah.
Better late than never.
Yes.
Absolutely. And, like, what are your thoughts on sort of the, I guess, like, just rape culture in general, especially, like, in the college or, because, like, I mean, there are so many stories as of late about, like, rapes in college and, like, the guy just, like, getting off on, like, no charges or something like that, and just sort of, the ignorance towards the subject and how uninformed people are, and, like, okay, let's start there, and then, like, I'll ask that next question.
Well, it's disgusting. But, unfortunately, rape is kind of part of human nature, as gross as it is. I mean, we are animals, and it is something that is in the back of our minds, which is scary and it's disgusting, but it also means that it's not something we can just shove under the rug. It's something that we have to be informed about and we have to be acknowledging, and we also can't let people be getting away with it because it's not okay. If instead of raping someone, that swimmer from a few months ago kicked a girl in the face and knocked her out, he'd be in tons of trouble, but it's because it wasn't that he got off, and it's ridiculous, and it's really gross, because like I said, it is unavoidable. I mean, I forget what was some philosophers stated that rape is part of human nature, and he stated a lot of other bad things, but I agree with that. I don't think it's something that is just going to disappear if we stop looking at it. It's out there. And it's bad, and it definitely is enforced by society right now. I mean, this whole idea that females are weak and go ahead. I mean, yeah, it's a big problem.
And I think it's a big problem that we don't punish it. Because this goes back to the rad thing. The idea, we see that rape is a problem, but instead of giving classes on consent or actually punishing people who rape other people, the idea is, we'll just teach the woman to defend herself.
Yeah, because, hey, if you kick a guy in the balls, he can't touch you. It's not true. Don't teach me how to fight someone. Teach someone not to hurt me, please.
There will actually be consequences, because I'm sure there's people who have the urge to murder other people, but they can restrain themselves if they know they're going to spend life in jail.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't like that someone can be in jail for far longer for selling marijuana than they are for raping someone. What? Guys, what are you doing here? Please.
And then my final question was just how would you see it being sort of implemented in a class specifically on just rape culture? How would you see that being implemented in the school?
I don't think we'd have a specific class on it. My ideal situation is that sex ed is not taught by the gym teachers anymore. The gym teachers are great, but they're not... I mean, I want, a gender studies professor or someone who knows what they're talking about inside and out, because it's a confusing subject, and you should be going over it in depth, and sex ed... If Mr. C wants, he can still teach all the bad STD stuff he wants to and gross the students out, because that was fun. But there also needs to be a point in our sex ed curriculum where we sit down with the students and someone talks to them about, this is consent, this is what's okay, this is what's not okay. Sex is going to happen eventually to most of the people in this room, and if it does, this is how to do it safely. This is where you can go to get help. This is where you can get birth control, that parental consent. And this is what you're feeling right now. This is why you might not be attracted to the opposite gender. This is why you might not identify with your own gender, and it's okay. It's okay if you might have sex. It's okay if you don't know what consent is. It's okay. All of this is okay, and it's natural to be confused, but now we're going to teach you. And if you have questions, ask me, because I'm overqualified. Please. Yeah. I don't think we need a separate class on it. I just think that sex ed should not be taught by a gym teacher. It should be taught by someone who can answer all these questions, because it's confusing. And someone who doesn't ignore that these things happen. Someone who can, and also who doesn't say, yes, it happens, watch this terrible video about this person who went to jail for being raped. I mean, that's just, it doesn't help. Scaring us doesn't help. It just makes us scared. I was talking to, so one of the guys who used to be in my play, I was talking to his mom, and his mom was saying that one of her daughters just went through RAD, and she didn't leave the house that night because she didn't want to walk outside alone. You're scaring people. You're not benefiting anyone. You're just scaring them away from facing the reality that this stuff happens, and it might be awkward to talk about, but you need to.
And it sucks that for a lot of people that, in a way, that is a legitimate fear.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, not that it can't happen in Winchester. It's a we have a much lower crime rate than even just towns directly around us, but it sucks that in a way there are people who it's totally reasonable to be scared to walk around at night.
Yeah, one of my really good friends was talking about how much she hated being in New York City for the first time because she was scared. And that's really sad. You're taking away a lot from someone if they're scared to be out alone because of their gender or because of their orientation or because they just don't know enough. And teaching them how to beat someone up if it happens, no, don't do that. Just don't.
Or like, what was it like? I think like 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, they had like a teen dating seminar at night.
Yeah.
Heard about that.
Yeah, but not sure how that went. But,
yeah.
Okay, but is there anything else you wanted to add, or just like some final statement you wanted to say about Gender Equality Club?
1 second, my mom just asked where I was. Final thing about Gender Equality Club. If you're interested, come to our meetings. I will advertise them eventually. And we're not a crazy, scary group of feminists. Feminists aren't even something to be scared of. I mean, it's so unfortunate that there's such a bad reputation and so many bad associations with the word feminist. Because, yes, some people have taken it far, but people take it far in every group and every type of association that anyone can be in. And yes, there might be a few more feminists, but at its core, it's really just about seeing people as people before their gender. And it's just as important to guys as it is to girls, or it is to anyone who identifies as anything. So, don't be scared of us.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Mike, for joining us. This was a really great episode. And for everyone listening, please subscribe to us on YouTube. You can also find all our other episodes there. And thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.